You're standing in the wrong armor. Ottoman steel, Ottoman banners, Ottoman brothers in arms, bleeding beside you, and in 30 seconds, you're going to betray every single one of them. The battle screams around you, Serbian plains, November cold, biting through leather and chain. Christian coalition forces are tearing through Sultan Murad's lines like starving wolves. And somewhere in this chaos, Gjergj Kastrioti, the man they call Skanderbeg, the Sultan's perfect weapon, makes a decision that will haunt an empire for a generation. He turns to the 300 men who would die for him and gives a signal that changes everything. They simply ... leave, not fleeing, not breaking, just peeling away from the Ottoman war machine as if they were never part of it. By the time anyone notices the Albanian wolf is gone, he's already riding toward the mountains that made him, toward a fortress that doesn't know it's about to become the graveyard of empires. Before we go deeper, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. It genuinely amazes me that a rebellion from 1443 can reach every corner of the world today. Because here's what makes Skanderbeg's story so devastating. This isn't about a hero who always fought for freedom. This is about a man who served the enemy for 28 years, who commanded their armies, who wore their faith, who became so perfectly Ottoman that when he finally turned, no one saw it coming. Not the Sultan who trusted him, not the generals who fought beside him, not even his own father, who'd rebelled twice without his son's help and died watching that son remain loyal to the empire that had stolen him. The question that haunts this story isn't whether Skanderbeg could beat the Ottomans, what kind of man becomes his enemy so completely that he learns to think like them, fight like them, dream like them, and then uses all of it to destroy them. 1413. Gjergj is 10 years old when his world ends. 3 Ottoman emissaries dismount in his father's fortress courtyard with the casual confidence of men who've delivered this ultimatum 100 times before. His father, Gjergj Kastrioti, is one of the most powerful Albanian lords' commands mountain passes, can raise armies with a word, holds alliances that keep these fractious highlands from tearing themselves apart. None of it matters now. The Sultan's seal catches weak autumn light. The terms are simple. The boy goes to Edirne, not as a guest, as insurance. This is how the Ottoman Empire digests the Balkans, not just conquering territory, but transforming the conquered. They take the sons of nobles, raise them in imperial palaces, teach them to become Ottoman. Then they send them back as governors, generals, administrators. It's brilliant, because these boys don't just learn Ottoman ways, they become Ottoman. The empire doesn't need to garrison every castle when the Castellan's own son enforces imperial rule. Gjergj doesn't cry, he steps forward, kisses his father's hand in a gesture so formal it feels like a funeral, and turns toward the waiting horses without looking back. The road to Adorn only goes one direction. The Endriyun school isn't a school, it's a forge. Turkish first, because it's the language of command. Persian, because it's the language of diplomacy. Arabic, because it's the language of the Quran and the foundation of everything the empire claims to be. Not conversational fluency, absolute mastery. The composite bow comes next, laminated wood and horn and sinew that can punch through armor at distances. European longbows dream about the Gjergj saber, designed for cavalry, its curved turning, slashing attacks into art. But weapons are just tools. The real education is doctrine, how to feign retreat and lure enemies into killing zones, how to coordinate cavalry wings with infantry mass, how to read terrain like prophecy. Gjergj absorbs everything with the intensity of someone who understands this isn't education, it's survival. While other boys struggle with Arabic grammar, he's parsing legal interpretations. While they fumble cavalry formations, he's executing them flawlessly. The tutors notice. More importantly, Sultan Murad too notices. By his early 20s, Gjergj is commanding cavalry units, leading campaigns in Serbia, fighting Hungarian forces. He's granted Timorland holdings in Macedonia that mark real trust. Somewhere in those blood-soaked years, someone gives him a nickname, Skanderbeg, Eskanderbeg. Lord Alexander, after the Macedonian conqueror, who never lost a battle, it's meant as a compliment. It will become an irony, so sharp it cuts. And while Gjergj Kastrioti commands Ottoman armies with distinction, his father raises rebellion. Not once, but twice. Gjergj Kastrioti refuses tribute, gathers his forces, holds mountain fortresses against Ottoman siegecraft. He loses both times. The Ottomans don't execute him that would create martyrs. They just annex his lands piece by piece, strip his authority, garrison his fortresses with Turkish troops. And both times, his son does nothing. Gjergj Kastrioti, decorated Ottoman officer, stays loyal to the empire that took him, doesn't join his father's rebellion, doesn't send secret aid, doesn't even protest. The sources leave this gap, and that gap is haunting. Maybe after 18 years in the Enderun's embrace, his father's resistance looks backward, pointless. Or maybe he's waiting for a real opportunity, for the kind of crack in the empire's armor that would allow not just rebellion, but successful rebellion. His father rebels from passion. Gjergj is learning to think like an empire, and empires move on calculation. November 1443, and the calculation changes. The Ottoman Empire is fracturing under pressure rival beyliks in the east, ambitious governors in Anatolia, and in the Balkans. A Christian coalition under Władysław III and John Hunyadi has launched a crusade. Sultan Murad mobilizes everything. Skanderbeg is among them, commanding cavalry, wearing Ottoman armor. But something has changed. Maybe it's intelligence from Albania whispers about growing resentment. Maybe it's the opportunity he sees Ottoman forces stretched thin. Maybe something simpler. After 28 years, something finally breaks. The Battle of Niš is chaos. In that chaos, Skanderbeg and his 300 men simply leave. They peel away with veteran discipline. By the time anyone realizes Skanderbeg's cavalry unit isn't where it should be, they're gone, riding west toward home. But home isn't the destination. The destination is Krujë. The fortress sits in central Albania, strategically vital, commanding mountain passes, heavily garrisoned by Ottoman troops. Taking it by force with 300 men is impossible, so Skanderbeg won't take it by force. He'll take it by deception, using what the Ottomans taught him. The empire runs on documents. Orders flow from the Sultan through vast bureaucratic networks. Everything carries a seal. When a document bears the Sultan's seal, you obey it. Forge the right document, and you can move mountains. Approaching Krujë, Skanderbeg carries a letter. How he obtained it is lost to history, but it bears the Sultan's seal, written in formal Turkish, ordering the Ottoman governor to surrender the fortress to Skanderbeg for strategic redeployment. The governor reads the orders. They seem odd, but not impossible, and refusing to obey could mean his head. The gates open. Skanderbeg and his 300 enter, welcomed as Ottoman forces. Then they move fast, ruthless, efficient. The governor is seized, his officers disarmed, the garrison troops overwhelmed before they can organize resistance. The crescent banner comes down. The double-headed eagle of the Kastrioti family rises. For over a decade, that eagle has been dormant. Not anymore. But taking Kruju is just the opening move. Holding it requires an alliance. And in 15th century Albania, where noble families have feuded for generations, forging an alliance is almost as difficult as defeating the Ottoman Empire. March 2nd, 1444, Gjergj 20, Albanian lords sit around a table that's seen everything from wedding feasts to murder plots. These men don't trust each other. Blood feuds stretch back generations. The Ottomans have built their Balkan strategy on it. Keep the nobles divided. Play them against each other. A fragmented Albania is manageable. A unified Albania is dangerous. Skanderbeg stands at the head wearing Albanian dress now, but there's something different authority that wasn't there when he left as a boy. The Ottomans are coming, he says. No preamble, just fact. Sultan Murad will send armies until we're crushed or submit. Lord Liku Dukagjini leans back. Your father tried twice. The Ottomans ground him into dust. Skanderbeg's voice is level. My father fought alone. He lost because he was isolated. Another lord speaks his family has survived by being carefully compliant. So we should risk everything because you captured one fortress. Skanderbeg doesn't flinch. I spent 28 years commanding Ottoman armies. I know how they think, how they fight. I know their weaknesses because I exploited them. The Ottomans are strong, but stretched thin. Wars in Anatolia, the Hungarian Crusade, internal struggles right now, they're vulnerable. If we strike together, use the mountains, we know better than any Ottoman commander, we can bleed them. Make Albania too expensive to hold. The arguments continue, but enough see the opportunity or fear being left isolated. The League of Gjergj is born. Military alliance, Skanderbeg as commander-in-chief. Walking out, Skanderbeg knows this alliance is fragile, built on shared fear more than loyalty. Some of these lords will betray him, it's inevitable. But for now, Albania has something it hasn't had in living memory. Unity. June 1444, and Alep Pasha's army moves through Albanian territory. 30,000 men in extermination force. Skanderbeg gathers 15,000 at a field called Torvial. 2-to-1 odds, usually decisive. But Skanderbeg isn't planning an open battle. He's studied this valley 4 kilometers wide, hills on both sides, narrow enough that Alep Pasha's advantage becomes a liability. June 29th, dawn. The Albanians form up in a crescentan Ottoman formation. Infantry on flanks, archers in the center, and behind the hills, invisible to scouts, 6,000 horsemen wait. Alep Pasha sees the weak center and sends his cavalry forward. 3,000 Ottoman horsemen thunder across the valley. The Albanian center braces. The impact should shatter them. It doesn't. The line bends, men die, but holds. The Ottoman cavalry wheels, back may be genuine retreat, may be feigned. Skanderbeg's officers shout to pursue. He doesn't take the bait. Hold the line. Alep Pasha commits his main force. The entire Ottoman army advances. The Albanians are pushed back slowly. Then Skanderbeg raises his hand. 3,000 Albanian horsemen charge down the right hill into the Ottoman flank. The flank collapses. Alep Pasha wheels reserves to meet this threat, which is when the left wing hits, driving into the rear of forces engaged with the front line. Now the Ottomans are caught in a vice. The valley becomes a killing floor, complete encirclement. When it ends, 10,000 to 20,000 Ottoman soldiers are dead. Skanderbeg's losses, fewer than 5,000. Alep Pasha escapes with remnants. The valley at Torvial is soaked in blood, and the Balkan world takes notice. But Skanderbeg walks the battlefield after and sees what numbers don't convey. 5,000 dead Albanians means 5,000 irreplaceable men. Albania can't afford losses like this repeatedly. The Ottomans can lose 20,000 and raise 30,000 more. He won brilliantly today, but he's fighting an empire, and empires just need to outlast you. May 1450, 6 years later, Sultan Murad II comes himself with 100,000 men. They march on Gjergj Skanderbeg. Makes a decision that looks insane. He leaves mobile forces outside 8,000 cavalry and infantry operating externally, hitting supply lines, disrupting the siege. Inside Gjergj's walls, he appoints Frana Conti as garrison commander. The siege begins. Ottoman cannons roar with apocalyptic thunder. Stone balls slam into walls. Sections crack, crumble, fall. The garrison works through nights, patching breaches. Skanderbeg's cavalry hits an Ottoman supply convoy, burns wagons, disappears. The siege loses 3 days of supplies. Assault parties try scaling ladders. Men fall, bodies pile. Hand-to-hand fighting on battlements. The Albanians hold barely. Murad's commanders offer surrender terms. Conti's response, no. The Ottomans try starvation. Inside, rations shrink. The garrison looks gaunt, but doesn't break. And every week, Skanderbeg's forces attack somewhere else. The Ottomans divert troops to protect rear areas. The siege that should be straightforward bleeds the Ottoman army through 1,000 cuts. November, winter comes. Supply lines become nightmares. Soldiers freeze. Disease spreads. Morale collapses. Murad makes the decision. Lift the siege. The Ottoman army withdraws. Gjergj's walls still stand. The double-headed eagle still flies. December 1450, Sultan Murad II dies. His son Mehmed II inherits the throne. 21. Brilliant, ruthless, obsessed with Constantinople, not Albania. So Mehmed sends other commanders with just enough force to maintain pressure. 2 Ottoman armies march into Albania. Skanderbeg meets them in mountain terrain that negates their advantages. Both are butchered. The exchange rate is devastating. 3 or 4 Ottoman dead for every Albanian, 1,453. Constantinople falls after 57 days of siege. Mehmed II is now Mehmed the Conqueror, and he has time for Albania again. Skanderbeg strikes first, besieging Ottoman-held Berat with 10,000 men. Then makes his mistake. He gets confident and leaves subordinates in charge. Isa Beg Isakovic arrives with 20,000 men. The Albanian commanders don't see him coming. When his army appears, the Albanian siege force is caught wrong-footed. Skanderbeg rides back, stabilizes the situation, but momentum is gone. He makes the call, withdraw. It's the right decision, preserve the army, but it's a defeat nonetheless. The first clear Ottoman victory in years. The Ottomans seize on it. Propaganda spreads. The Albanian rebel can be beaten. The war enters a more dangerous phase. September 2nd, 1457, 65,000 Ottomans under Isabeg march toward Albania. Skanderbeg scrapes together 10,000 men, 1/6 the enemy's size. His officers advocate retreat, but Skanderbeg sees something. That massive army is unwieldy, needs time to deploy properly. His scouts report them camping near Albulina, soldiers tired, resting, planning to deploy tomorrow. Tomorrow's battle looks like a formality. Skanderbeg doesn't wait for tomorrow. September 2nd, dawn. Albanian forces hit the Ottoman camp at sunrise. Full assault, complete surprise. Ottoman soldiers scramble for weapons, Officers scream contradictory orders. Units try forming defenses without knowing where attacks come from. The camp descends into chaos. Albanian cavalry tears through positions targeting command tents. Infantry follows in coordinated units. In the confusion, local superiority matters to Albania surrounding 3 isolated Ottomans. Albanian archers target officers. The strategy is decapitation. Kill the command structure, and the army becomes a mob. Sections rout, panic spreads like fire. Isabeg rallies part of his force on higher ground, but too late. The rest is scattered, fleeing dead. Skanderbeg withdraws. Objective achieved. Over 20,000 Ottoman soldiers dead. Isabeg retreats with 40,000 survivors, half demoralized or shattered. News spreads across Europe. 10,000 Albanians destroyed an army 6 times their size. But the years continue to blur. More invasions, more victories, but Skanderbeg's alliance is fracturing. Lords accept Ottoman bribes or make separate peace. External support dries up. The replacements are younger now, less experienced. May 1466, Sultan Mehmed II comes himself, with everything 50 to 100,000 men. The same cannons that broke Constantinople, Skanderbeg has fewer than 20,000. And no help is coming. Mehmed besieges Kruju again. The fortress holds through summer, autumn. The garrison survives on quarter rations, then less. Winter comes. Mehmed doesn't leave this time he's prepared. His army has winter supplies. January 1467, Mehmed finally withdraws. Not because Kruju Falit still stands, but he's left behind a network of fortresses throughout Albania. Ottoman administration, bureaucracy, garrison towns. Albania is being strangled slowly, territory shrinking, resources depleting. January 1468. The fever starts. January 17th, Gjergj Kastrioti Skanderbeg dies in bed. Not from a Turkish blade, not leading a final charge. Malaria, the same disease that's killed countless thousands, he's conscious at the end, lucid enough to know what's happening. His body, hardened by decades of warfare, finally surrenders to something he can't outmaneuver. He's 62, old for this era. He's outlived Sultan Murad, outlasted a dozen Ottoman commanders. But survival isn't victory. The double-headed eagle still flies over Kruju. Albanian resistance continues, but everyone knows what this means. Without Skanderbeg, the League has no center, no military genius who understands Ottoman doctrine better than Ottoman generals. Venice takes command of Albania's defense for 10 years, pouring resources into holding what Skanderbeg built. But June 1478, after months of siege, the Ottoman banner rises over Kruju. The double-headed eagle comes down for the last time. Albanian resistance is over. The war that started with Skanderbeg's desertion in 1443 ends, 35 years later, with Ottoman victory. Complete, total, inevitable. But here's what the Ottomans couldn't kill, the legend. Pope Calixtus III called Skanderbeg the champion of Christ. The title stuck. His name became synonymous with resistance against impossible odds. Military academies studied his tactics, the crescent formation at Tor Vial, the mobile defense of Kruju, the dawn ambush at Albula. In Albanian oral tradition, the stories grew. Skanderbeg, the man who made an empire bleed, who proved a small nation could defy the greatest military power of the age. When Albania sought symbols for national identity centuries later, they returned to Skanderbeg. The double-headed eagle became the national emblem. His fortress at Kruju became a shrine. Skanderbeg, taken by the Ottomans as a boy and forged into one of their finest commanders, spent 28 years serving the empire that stole him. In 1443, amid the chaos of the Battle of Nice, he and 300 loyal riders slipped away, seized his family fortress through deception, and united fractious Albanian lords. For 25 years, he used Ottoman tactics against the Ottomans, winning stunning victories and defying sultans who commanded continents. He died in 1468, and Albania fell a decade later. But his resistance became legend, a symbol of unity, identity, and the refusal to kneel.